So I think you guys have probably heard of this guy. His name is Metatron, like Megatron, like Optimus Prime's babysitter from childhood. So Metatron apparently is a guy who knows a lot about martial arts and swords and things like that. And I think you already know that I'm 100% committed to Kendo. That's all I do. That's all I breathe and sleep and eat. Only Kendo, believe it or not. Everyone knows that for a fact. So Metatron has this video and it looks like he has a problem with Kendo. Kendo, the problems I have after 3 years of practice. So you know, he's got something to say. He's got, what, 300,000, 700, he's got a lot of views going on here. So, you know, and look at his comments here. This guy practices Kenjutsu and Kendo. That's pretty cool. I guess, you know, there's some people who have mixed opinions on his video. Let's take a look. Let's find out what it's all about.
I'm not a master nor an expert, but I have no real understanding of this martial art. Now, there are some things that I like, and some things I don't like, and I would like to share these things with you. But before doing that, I think it's very important, perhaps dramatically important, to understand thoroughly what Kendo is supposed to be and what Kendo actually is in reality.
That's cool, that's cool. So he says he's not a Kendo master. I don't know if I've ever met anyone who said they're a Kendo master. I always wonder if even like Hachidan, Nanadan Sensei even say that they're a Kendo master. But I don't know, yeah, there's some humbleness going on here, which is pretty cool. It's pretty good to see. By the way, I love that opener. It's hitting some dramatic tones. You know, it's hitting me right in the chest, right in the heart, right where it hurts, and I'm loving it so far.
Practiced by ancient samurai, ancient Japanese samurai.
I think, yes, that is very true. The samurai actually did practice the Kenjutsu, believe it or not.
Early as the Kamakura period.
Yeah, you know, I have slept on Kamakura before. It's a pretty good kind of Makura, one of my favorite Makuras out there.
Modern Kendo, however, is a very simplified form of fighting with a katana. You have to consider that during the Second World War, the occupying powers and forces prohibited martial arts in Japan, as that could have been a kind of a sort of militaristic mentality, and they were trying to remove that from the people. So that was one of the reasons why Kendo was banned at one point, and then it came back again in this current modern version, which is in between a martial art and a sport. Now, if you ask me,
I kind of have a problem with that. I think one of the good things about Kendo is how it's a sport and a martial art, but in many ways they're kind of separate. It's almost like Kendo can't just be a sport or just a martial art. It can actually be both at the same time, and just for each individual. For me, I think at some point, for me it was just a sport, and I just wanted to go and see how well I could do in competitions. I really like the athleticism behind it. But as I progress in Kendo, I feel like I have to find out a little bit more of its roots, like more of the historical aspect of how it came to be. I'm honestly not really well read on that kind of topic, and I think I want to learn more about that. And I kind of want to learn more, I guess, of like the root of Budo through Kendo as I progress in Kendo. So I kind of feel like that's actually a really good thing in Kendo, how it has a duality. It has like a very aggressive sport, like competitive, just competition-based sport aspect to it, but it also has, you know, it has more traditional, more Budo, more martial art aspect to it also. And I think kind of like marrying that together in dojos, you know, in a dojo, a lot of times if it's just your machi dojo, like just your city dojo or just your town dojo, you're gonna see both of that in both kinds of people, like just some young kid who just wants to compete all the time, and someone who's maybe more mature and wants to learn more of the martial art aspect. These two people can train in one dojo together, and I've always thought that I think it's really a plus. It's something that Kendo has that I feel like a lot of other martial arts don't have, because they're just sports or they're just martial arts. Let's see what else Metatron has to say.
Now, that is, of course, the fact that I consider this simplification to be an issue is just my opinion, of course, and normally the standard response to that, the standardized response to that, is the fact that Kendo is not supposed to be a martial art that teaches you how to use a katana to kill an opponent, but it's actually a way, considering it finishes with a character do, which means street or spiritual inner way. It should be a form of personal growth, spiritual growth, in order to become a better person, not against your opponent, but through your opponent. So it's not that I don't understand this, I understand this quite well.
I think he does understand it quite well. I think I actually really like that. I kind of looked at this guy and I thought, oh, he's gonna give some really, he's gonna say something like, oh, I hate Kendo because it's not sporty enough, or oh, I hate Kendo because it's fake. You know, you're not actually cutting a person with a sword, that kind of thing. I feel like those two are very, they're almost like two arguments that are really blind of the big picture. The person who's like, oh, I only want to use Kendo to chop people up with swords because that's all that matters. Like that's, I mean, obviously no one in Kendo kind of believes that. Like nobody does Kendo because they want to learn how to walk around on a street and fight people with swords when they need to, that kind of thing. I mean, wouldn't you just carry a handgun around if you were going to do that? And obviously, like the sport aspect, I don't know. I mean, I feel totally cool with people who just want to do Kendo because it's just a sport. Like I don't feel like there's anything wrong with that. I mean, because over time, those people usually settle down. They find out that they can't win as many tournaments as they used to over time, and then maybe they find a lot of value in Kendo as something to maybe make them a better person, or they feel like achievement's a really big deal in their life. They actually see that the achievement that they're trying to do in sport Kendo and they're trying to get in sport Kendo is something that they can also do in kind of the martial art aspect of Kendo, more of that Budo style Kendo, kind of the, I don't know, let's see what else he has to say.
Important for me to explain a few things to you viewers who, like me, are interested in real samurai combat. And I know that the reason why some of you are interested in getting closer to Kendo is because you are interested in that. I know that because I am just like you.
I think it's pretty cool. Like there's a lot of people who start Kendo thinking that's what it is. Like I'll see some people like come into the beginning classes at my dojo and they're like, man, I want to, like I've learned like all these different martial arts, like Krav Maga and like, I don't know, like all these different kinds of martial arts where it really is more of an actual, like you're actually going to use this in combat situations kinds of a thing. But Kendo, I feel like it's so far removed physically. I mean, we're standing upright, we expose all of your internal organs right at our opponent, and then our feet are so close together, our legs are basically straight. I mean, in what other martial art do you stand tall like that and just march right into the person? I mean, it seems like almost like Civil War era or 1800s era military fighting where people just stand in flanks and then they just run right into each other and shoot each other. I don't know. It's I don't know. I think he has a point. He's not. I don't think he's a weirdo so far. That's what I'm seeing.
Katana. So even if you're using a shinai, one of the first things that they teach you is toraguchi. Now, toraguchi literally means the mouth of the tiger, and what they teach you is that when
I've actually never heard that before. I've never heard anyone say toraguchi. I've heard people say tenouchi. I don't know. I guess we'll find out. I don't know.
you grip a sword, which is a katana or a shinai or bokuto, you should not grip it like a hammer. This would be wrong, but your hands need to form
50 points right there. You get 50 points. Everyone needs to, like, everyone knows that, but I don't know. It's so hard to teach that in a beginning Kendo class, and everyone knows that. It's almost like that left heel, keep your left heel straight thing. I mean, obviously, every teacher just has the like a hell of a time trying to fix their students from going like this to this. I guess like it's a teacher's meme.
and you're going to learn how to balance and judge distance for your attacks and your defense.
That's kind of weird. Is this guy wearing like a face mask? Yeah, it's like he's wearing a face mask. I've always thought it'd be really cool if I wore one of those, you know, like those big jumpsuits where it's all just one color, like this person's just wearing green, like when they're doing a green screen and someone's like holding something and they don't want to be seeing the green screen, so they're wearing all. I want to do that, but with black, so it's like a big black do-rag that I put over my face, and then no one will know who I am, and I can go in, do keiko, and no one can see me, but whatever, okay. Here we go, this is the problems portion, let's go.
So the first problem that I have with Kendo is the fact that it simplifies too much the stances or ready positions. Now in Kendo, in our day, we only have Chudan no Kamae, which is a stance where you have your right foot in front, which remains in front all the time, another negative thing, but we'll talk about this in a minute. And you hold your sword in front of you, and the tip of your sword is pointing to the throat of your opponent.
I think that's a straight-on grip. I'm joking.
And then you have Jodan no Kamae, so your left foot goes forward, as far as I was taught in Kendo.
Yeah, I'm seeing this this very straight-on kobushi again, but whatever. I mean, he probably didn't. I don't know. He's got some reason.
Your fist remains up towards where your forehead is, but there needs to be one fist of distance, so you don't really do this in Kendo, and you hold it like this.
Maybe you could say it's Hidari Jodan or Migi Jodan? Yeah, right? Whatever.
These are the two main stances you have in modern Kendo. You do have Gedan, which is the low stance.
I'm really glad he said Gedan instead of Geidan. Good for you, man. Good for you. That's what it's all about.
That in Kendo, this one is only done by lowering a little bit the tip of the sword, whereas in original Kenjutsu, this one was supposed to go all the way down to the knee.
I didn't know that. Actually, I think it's kind of, isn't that how we always teach it? I mean, I know in kata, you're supposed to pressure to the top of their knee. I don't know. Maybe he heard something different from his teachers. Who knows?
Now, this is an incredibly effective kamae, and I was really disappointed by the fact that you do not use it in Kendo, and I've heard some people even saying that if you use it, it would be awkward.
I think that's true. I honestly feel like it'd be really awkward to use wakigamae in Kendo. I'm pretty sure if I wanted to score a point, if I wanted to create any real Yuko Datotsu, I probably wouldn't put my shinai behind me. I don't know. Yeah, I really don't know where that came from, but I don't know. Maybe he has some reason. Maybe he uses shinai that's not regulation length and super long, and he's hiding it back there. Doesn't want people to find out how long it is, and then wham, he pulls out like an 8-footer or something like that, like a 20 shuck. I don't know. Maybe I'm being picky here.
That is stupid that you think that it would be awkward.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't agree with that. I'm having trouble agreeing with that.
That term is absolutely out of place. Now, Waki and Shano Kamae were incredibly effective kamae. The fact that they are not effective in Kendo today is because they removed a lot of possible cuts, because you only have certain areas of the body that you can attack. This is another problem that I have. In modern Kendo, you can only score a point, or your hit is considered valid, if you hit the forehead, the sides of the head, the throat with a tsuki, if you cut the door, meaning the sides of your torso, or the right kote, if the opponent is in Shudan no Kamae.
Didn't include the left kote, he didn't include the other one, right? Oh, see, there we go. Yeah, we got 1 point on him. 1 point for Aaron. Maybe, I don't know how many points Metatron has so far, I don't really keep track. Let's find out what else he has to say.
If the opponent is in Jodan no Kamae, then you can also hit the left hand and score a point. But if your opponent is in Shudan...
Okay, never mind, can't cancel that point.
Shudan no Kamae. Now your opponent thrusts you, okay, in the torso, let's say that he was allowed, and gets the point. A split second after that, you go down with a diagonal cut, and you cut him here, okay? Exactly where your traps are. Now that's not going to be a point, because that's not an area that is valid, and also you even did it a split of a second after he did. So he's getting the point, you lost. That makes absolutely no sense, because if someone taps you with the tip of a sword, you're not going to die, most likely. Instead, if someone cuts you from a Jodan no Kamae, where your traps are, is most likely going to kill you and probably cut you all the way through your lung, your left lung, for example, slicing your heart in half. But that's not valid. So Jodan no Kamae had a disadvantage in that case, because in a real fighting situation, no one would try to tip in you with a sword, exposing completely your head to a counter-attack. And if your opponent was an armored samurai, then wearing a door, an actual armor, like the one I own, who you've seen in my channel, then never mind thrusting, you know?
Okay, so I see two I think I would say misunderstandings of Kendo. I think the first one is that we've really simplified where you can hit. I mean, there's just main kote dotsuki, but obviously if you're doing Kenjutsu or something like that, you're trying to cut someone with a sword, and I think you're gonna have like a lot of pretty fatal areas you can cut. I mean, if you look at the human anatomy, there's tons of places you can cut and it would take the person down. I feel like if you wanted to have that many places to allow Yuko Datotsu to be scored or created, I think it's going to make it so complex. It's going to be really hard, one, to have any competition that way. If someone could like score like kesagiri or whatever that is, or score like do just all over, because all of that would cut through the body. I don't know. I feel like that would make Kendo like either like a poking match. Maybe more like European fencing, where all you have to do is kind of touch them in the zones. I don't know. I feel like the rules that Kendo has are kind of strict for Yuko Datotsu. Maybe on purpose. Maybe really on purpose. I mean, if you're like Godan, like Yodan, Rokudan, like any like kind of like Kodansha level, or I mean really high. I mean, if you look at really high level Kendoka, like Yuko Datotsu gets even narrower and narrower. It's like you can still hit him on the top of the head. Obviously, that would cut them in half, but like they have to do it even better. They have to make a strike that was meant to be on purpose, and then it hits the target in the correct position on the sword. Like Tsuyosa Sai, like I mean, there's like if you look at the chart, it's pretty narrow for what Yuko Datotsu is, and I think that's actually a really good thing. But I guess I don't know. I mean, I guess everyone has an opinion. But I feel like it's kind of strange for this guy to just look at an entire institution of people who have taken like a long, I don't know, it's really taken them a really long time to build up that institution, to build up the reasons for why they do these things. And I think it's kind of wrong just to say that's all terrible. But at the same time, this guy isn't being disrespectful. He's just sharing his opinion. I think it's a good thing. I think this guy's pretty cool.
You're not going to go through the bands of the plates, and you are going to be decapitated. So Jodan no Kamae would become a lot more effective in that case. Although some people say that Jodan no Kamae started to become more popular in Japan after they stopped using armor. I have no idea why.
See, I think the reason why this guy doesn't like any kind of kamae where your shinai's in front of you, maybe it's because he doesn't know how well you can, or how quickly you can manipulate your other person's sword, or I guess in this case, shinai, when it's completely in front of you. I mean, if you start in Jodan no Kamae, like there's kind of a lot of distance, there's a lot of space between here and then the final position of any kind of datotsu. It doesn't really matter where it is. But starting from here, you have to move through that position and then finally end up at datotsu. And I think that's probably one of the reasons why Tsudan no Kamae ended up being the primary kamae that everyone starts at, because the shinai is already really close to datotsu, and you can actually use that to manipulate your opponent's shinai. And I don't know, I mean, I think as a person, when I first started Kendo, like for the first 4 years or so, I always kind of thought it was strange why we started in that position. We just put our sword out there, and then why do we have to lift it up? Like, why don't we just leave it up here in the first place if we're going to have to lift our shinai above our head anyway? But I guess it takes a while for someone to notice that you can actually do really small strikes. You can actually block just by putting basically your hands up there and not actually covering the top of your head, just by stopping their sword from getting to you in the first place. I think these kinds of nuances obviously aren't going to, someone's probably not going to understand it maybe in the first whatever years of Kendo. I don't really know how much he trained Kendo, honestly. Maybe he did like a couple days a week, maybe like trained like really hard, but you know, maybe he just doesn't really understand why Tsudan no Kamae became such a big deal in Kendo. Who knows? Let's keep watching.
But I still think that in a situation where I'm wearing a plate, armored, chest protection or breastplate, I can be a lot more confident when I do.
I love that word. It's like chicken breast. It's kind of funny. Yeah, okay, whatever.
Anyway, so let's just be on the point. So because of all of this, Jodan no Kamae started to become less effective. People started to use Tsudan no Kamae, was becoming a bit dull. So what they did, they solved the problem by simply removing the thrust to the torso. Whereas as far as I'm concerned, they should have done it another way. allowing people to cut other areas and increasing the number of targets.
I don't really understand that part. I mean, Munetsuki is kind of big, right? I mean, I feel like ski's kind of hard enough to score in the first place, and it seems like the idea of ski, or I guess like the idea of any kind of a thrust, if you simplify it down into something that's harder for someone to score, I guess it's like a smaller area of the target is a smaller area, that kind of thing. I imagine you would just end up at ski, or you would end up at the small point on the mune. Yeah, I honestly, I feel like that's a hard one. It's a hard one.
That made it a lot more interesting, but it was just my opinion, of course. Continuing, so Waki no Gamae goes away because you cannot have diagonal cuts to the legs, for example, which were very...
Waki no Gamae. I think it's either Waki no Kamae or Waki Gamae. But then again, that's pretty picky. I mean, even if you grow up speaking Japanese.
You can't really have an uprising cut, whereas you did in the past in Kenjutsu. So Waki no Gamae becomes very, very ineffective, because the only thing you can actually do is to bring the sword up and go for a men, as far as attack straight to...
That's cool. I guess he notices that. That's pretty cool.
...the head, as far as modern Kendo rules are concerned, or perhaps go up and down again to cut the torso. It makes no sense. But again, bring back all the cuts, I say, and then things are starting to get a lot more interesting. As a matter of fact, when I spar with my friends, I do this. We cut everywhere. We consider the body full target.
I wonder if he considers how painful that's gonna be. I mean, if you want to cut through a person, like, you're gonna... I don't know. That sounds really painful. I would want to wear, like, some kind of a sumo suit. I don't think I'd be wearing Kendo Vogu. I'd be wearing, like, Kendo Vogu and maybe, like, a huge, like, you know, like a suit that puffs up so much that it's not gonna hurt when someone bashes through the top of my head and out my butt. You know what I'm saying? All right, let's continue.
Now, another kamae that is disappeared is Hasso kamae. I don't understand why, again. Hasso no kamae...
That would actually be really cool. I really want to do that. That would be amazing. If someday, if somehow it's acceptable in Kendo to start in Hasso kamae, I would totally do it. I mean, if you're starting from Jodan no kamae, you're gonna probably end up close to Hasso anyway at one point, right? You go kind of through this almost like Hasso kamae, and then bam, and you hit men. What if you just start right here? Like that's so cool. Like your kote's kind of out there. It's pushing out that way. Like I would totally do that. That would be really fun. I don't know. Maybe I'll ask some people if they want to fight me in Hasso kamae just for fun, right? That'd be pretty cool. I want to check it out. Let's do that for real.
It's perfect because it's in between a chudan and a jodan.
He gets it. He gets it.
Your sword is not as easy to control as it would be in chudan. You lose a bit of reach, of course, just like you do in jodan, but you're not as exposed. All right.
Shoot at, homie.
Your left fist. So it's a good in between, I think. And again, this is very nice for sparring. I've tried it. It works.
I gotta start sparring, whatever this is. It doesn't sound like Keiko, but it sounds pretty cool. Like, man, if I could do hustle, if we could do Shinai Kendo, but from Waki Gamae, that would actually be pretty cool, pretty dope. Try it out. Let's see.
Japanese masters used to say, at least in Kenjutsu, that you should normally use Hasso no Kamae when you are sparring against many different opponents, particularly if you are against a wall.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, see, I've been told that before. I mean, it makes sense because your sword is going to go behind you anyway. I don't know, that's pretty neat. But I don't know why you wouldn't just use like a chudan. But I don't know. What else?
Perform other kamae. Interesting point. I still find it a very good kamae. It's a shame that they don't use it in Kendo anymore.
Yeah. Footwork.
Another problem is footwork. Now in Kendo, they teach you to, in chudan no kamae at least, to keep your right leg in front. So when you move forward, you cannot perform a step. You cannot have...
Wait. Oh shit.
Perform other kamae. Interesting point. I still find it a very good kamae. It's a shame that they don't use it in Kendo anymore. Another problem is footwork. Now in Kendo, they teach you to, in Chudan no Kamae at least,
What are those?
keep your right leg in front, so when you move forward you cannot perform a step. You cannot have the left leg go in front of the right leg unless you're changing into switching stance to Jodan no Kamae. So you just go forward and back. So you just go forward and back, the same foot in front, even when you cut.
Come on, man. Just keep your left heel straight, dude. It's like, it's not that hard. I'm just joking. Some people will turn their left heel in a little bit. I mean, I don't know. I mean, he's probably out of his beginning class, so that's cool. Whatever, man.
Now, what I like is that when my cut comes from the right, I want my right leg in front. But when my cut comes from the left, I want my left leg in front. That is one thing that it was present in Kenjutsu, and it disappears in Kendo. As a matter of
Yeah, honestly, like, I think that's a good question. I've like some people when they do hirarido, instead of just using like the normal footwork, they go and they switch their foot up, and I think it's because like your foot kind of gets in the way. But honestly, like you know how Shinai Kendo is, we're not like cutting through the guy very much. So I mean, I've noticed that just using my right foot doesn't seem to change much, and then I don't have to like change my footwork. I don't have to think about that. I think for a while I thought it was a big deal for me to learn how to do footwork with my left foot forward, and I was doing that stuff at home and then like building it up at my dojo, and I was able to do even like fumikomi with the hirarido, go through that way. But I don't know, I mean, I guess to each his own, right? To each his own.
In fact, when people, for example, are like this, one against the other, you have two Shinai.
Oh, he's got two. Yeah, see, there we go. He's got two. That means that if he breaks one, he can use the other one. That's perfect. That's something that all people in Kendo should do. They should always have two Shinai. Thank you, Metatron. Thank you for reminding us.
A lot of Kendoka just perform a kind of a jump back, extending the men, hitting the opponent. Interesting technique, but it's the only thing they can do in that situation. That is something I don't like, because then you see people performing the same techniques all the time, personally, just my opinion. Instead, I like the idea of perhaps going back just with a step and attacking the opponent. Again, that's not permitted in modern Kendo. Jodan no Kamae, I noticed that a lot of Kenjutsu practitioners open their bosom when they go into...
Their bosom? I don't know, maybe they say that in other countries, I don't know, I just thought that was interesting. I'm reading some Dostoevsky books and they say bosom a whole lot in those. Let's keep going.
Jodan no Kamae. Now in Kendo you normally open your bosom and stretch your shoulders in the moment of the attack. So again, it makes sense as well in Kendo that Kendo practitioners stay like this rather than staying like that. But I think again, I would like to be able to choose as a swordsman rather than having to stick to one possible option.
I've always like heard that term before. I honestly, for some reason, I don't consider myself a swordsman. Maybe that's a good thing. Maybe that's a bad thing. I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm very narrow and I've only done Kendo forever and I never really picked up any shinken or like some other kind of a real sword and cut things in half. I have, however, picked up a kitchen knife and I've cut watermelons in half. So maybe maybe I'm a little bit of a knifesmith. Who knows?
An interesting technique though that they taught me in Kendo when you attack in Jodan no Kamae, but again a technique that I think it depends. It can be effective but other times it might not be. Using your right hand as to push. So what you do, right before extending and opening your chest, you're actually going to leave the sword to the left hand and perform something like this. Now I can't really do it properly because I need to hit something. Let me see if I can find something to hit. There we go, lovely. So if I want to hit this with a Jodan no Kamae, rather than doing this, okay, I can use my right hand to give one final push, leaving for extra reach and power.
I'm pretty sure that anyone who has done Jodan no Kamae for a pretty long time would look at this and they would cringe a little bit, but I would say that it's good to try and reserve the cringe because maybe he hasn't done Jodan no Kamae that much. Maybe he's just explaining things that he's heard so far. But I'm pretty sure someone wouldn't be using any of these shise more passing through them in the nature that he does if they had done Jodan no Kamae for a while. But let's keep watching.
Like this.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I've never seen anyone go like this before. But it could be the brand new dance craze of 2018. Like this. Who knows? Let's keep watching.
Now, interesting.
Yeah, and I've also seen no one start here. But you know, these are different shise that probably have advantages and disadvantages. It's not a zero-sum game, right?
Now, there are many other stances that I could talk about describing ancient Kenjutsu. Unfortunately, I don't have enough time to talk about it in this video, otherwise it would get too long. But if you're interested and you want me to examine each single stance of ancient Kendo and Kenjutsu, please let me know in the comments below. Also, let me leave you with this question. Are you more inclined and interested in Kendo and its spiritual growth and inner path, or would you be more interested in the ancient Kenjutsu, which also had some Zen teaching, but at the same time it was teaching you how to be effective in cutting as many bodies as possible in a battlefield? Or would you rather choose the Ido, the more classic and stylish martial art? Well, let me know in the comments below. Alright then, that is the end of this video. Thank you very much for watching as always, and remember, the Metatron has spread its wings.
I don't see, okay, if you've watched any other Metatron videos, which I actually have, he always says that he's spread his wings in the very end of the video. And so I, too, want to do the same thing. So I want you guys to always remember that the Aaron has spread his wings. See me next time, or I don't know, just whatever. I don't even know if I'm going to continue with this format, so... Alright, I'm going to end recording now.